The Leadership League. Brought to you by Turkish Airlines.
He's been hailed as one of the greatest English golfers of all time.
He's won tournaments on 5 continents.
And spent a staggering 352 weeks in the top 10 official world golf rankings, 22 of those as number 1.
That man is Lee Westwood, and he joins me on the Leadership League. Hello, I'm James Wright, and I would say welcome to Istanbul, but I'm only passing through because I'm off to meet a powerhouse of the golfing game, Lee Westwood. He's in Dubai for the final leg of the PGA European Tour, where he's playing in the DP World Tour Championships. Now, Lee picked up a golf club for the first time at the age of 13. Just 2 years later, he picked up his first title to become the junior champion of Nottinghamshire. Well, since then, he's racked up 43 wins on 6 tours, 24 European Tour victories, 2 PGA Tour titles, and 10 consecutive appearances for Europe in the Ryder Cup. Now a father of 2, he also runs the Lee Westwood Golf School and the Junior Lee Westwood Golf Tour. And somehow he's managed to find time to sit down with me on the Leadership League. Lee, welcome to the Leadership League. It's great to have you on the show. You're in Dubai for, well, I guess the end of the PGA European Tour. How's it been for you?
Yeah, it was good. I played well at the end of the season. I had a top 10 in Turkey and top 10 in South Africa, and then I played all right in Dubai, but I just kept shooting myself in the foot, really. I'd get on a roll and then I'd make a bogey or a double bogey or even a triple bogey, as I did the last day. So, but I'm playing well, and I'm pleased the season's over because I can recharge my batteries and get ready for next year. But I'm looking forward to starting next year again here in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi.
You are from North Nottinghamshire at Worksop. What was it like growing up there? What was it like for you?
It was good. I had a great childhood and an upbringing. Very normal people with good values. It's a former mining community. You know, I grew up in the 80s when Arthur Scargill was coming to town, and the Maggie Thatcher years and picket lines and stuff like that. So, you know, that was a tough time for Worksop. But I think the town has got itself back on its feet now, and obviously I've got a lot of friends still in Worksop, and my mum still lives there, and my dad just outside Worksop. So, yeah, you know, I'll always be Lee Westwood from Worksop.
You grew up being a pretty sporty kid by all accounts.
I tried everything pretty much, from football to obviously golf, rugby, cricket, running. I was a decent runner, county cross-country champion. Even had a go at old-time dancing.
Nice.
Nana and Grandad had an old-time dancing school, so my dad got me there on the false pretences of it would be good for my balance. Whether it was or not, I'm not sure, but I can do a waltz.
All these sports you had a go at, why did golf then become the biggie?
Well, I played a lot of team sports, and I just wanted to play a sport where it was just, you know, down to me. If I played well, then great, but I didn't have to rely on somebody else, which, you know, golf is one of the most individual sports you can get, really. So I like the challenge of it. I went along the first time to Kilton Forest Golf Club in Worksop, municipal, and hit a lot of bad shots. Went round at about 150, but hit a couple of good ones, which made me want to come back the next day and try it again. So my dad saw something in me. You know, I had a pretty good swing, and he took me for some lessons, and it took off really quickly from sort of starting the game at 12, 13 years of age. I got to scratch pretty quickly and played for England, and 6 years later I was on the European Tour at 19, so it was a pretty rapid rise.
And that first win, the Nottinghamshire Juniors, how did that kind of give you the real push to kind of make you want to take this up as a
well,
job?
I won the Notts Boys, you know, at Sherwood Forest, and you know, that was a couple of years after I started playing, so I was the best player in the county pretty quickly, and it just made me want to compete again on that level, and then on a national level, and try and get into the England boys team, and sure enough, that all came pretty quickly. So you know, I started to win national championships after the Notts Boys pretty quickly, age group championships, and you know, just established myself on the golfing scene, really.
What was it like, that moment when you decided to go professional? How did that change things for you? Did it change things for you?
It didn't really change much in my mind, I just still went out there and enjoyed playing golf and just tried to improve all the time and shoot as low a scores as possible. The great thing about it was I was getting paid to do it, so my whole career I never really sort of worked it out when it went from being a hobby to being a job. I've always gone out and played the best golf courses in the world with some of the best players in the world and just tried to have a good time. I think that's probably the key to doing anything well. Yeah.
And what was the thing for you that stands out? You mentioned some great tournaments, some great players that you played against. What are the ones that you really remember?
I think I remember all the Ryder Cups. That's obviously a big honour. But one of the tournaments that stands out the most was in '97. I won the Australian Open. I beat Greg Norman in the playoff. And growing up, Greg was a hero of mine, still is. And he was world #1 at the time. And found myself playing the Australian Open, playing the last round with him. Got into a playoff and beat him on the 4th extra hole of a playoff, which, at that time in my career was obviously a massive thrill.
And you were partnered with Nick Faldo that time. What was that like, playing with somebody that I guess you may have looked up to?
Yeah, obviously Nick, once again, was somebody I looked up to, and prior to winning that Australian Open, it was the Ryder Cup at Valderrama that year, and I turned up and Seve Ballesteros was the European captain, and I was having practice rounds with Ian Woosnam and Jose Maria Lathabel, Monty and people like that, Bernard Langer and Nick Faldo. And Seve said, you're going to play with Nick Faldo the first day, and we played every match as well. So that was obviously a very significant step for me. Firstly getting into the Ryder Cup team, but then playing with a hero of mine and somebody that's won multiple major championships that was able to make me feel comfortable on the golf course on a week that's packed full of pressure. 2000,
big year, big wins. What was that like for you? Was this, how can my life get any better, or what?
Yeah, well, the previous few years, I was starting to win prolifically. I won a lot in '98. I think 8 tournaments and 4 tournaments in '99, and then another 8 tournaments in 2007. I'm on the European Tour, and obviously won the money list on the European Tour. So, it was nice to get that #1 spot in Europe off Monty. Monty dominated for many years, and that was obviously a big moment as well.
Big purse, big splurge after it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play well and win a few quid, it's nice to treat yourself.
Still to come, from Nottinghamshire to Buckingham Palace, how the game of golf led to unexpected friends in high places.
I like the royal family, and especially the Queen. I think she's a great lady, really.
The Leadership League, brought to you by Turkish Airlines. The Leadership League, brought to you by Turkish Airlines.
Welcome back to the Leadership League. I'm James Wright in Dubai, beating a Goliath of the golfing world.
2009 saw Lee Westwood take 2 top-tier finishes at major championships, and later that year also won the Portugal Masters and the Dubai World Championship. That led to a record-breaking prize purse year for Westwood of €4.2 million, his most successful financial year to date.
Your son was born in 2001. How did that change things for you?
I think whenever anybody has kids, it's new priorities in life, and your family and your kids become the most important thing. But as a golfer, that can be difficult because you need to dedicate your life and a lot of your time to practicing golf if that's your chosen sport. So it's a fine balance between balancing your family and your career. So it's just another thing that gets thrown at you through life that you have to factor in there.
But you also use that as an opportunity to kind of change your game. I'm not the world's greatest golfer by any stretch, but something happened about that time too.
I just felt like my game was starting to go off the end of 2000, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. And I played poorly in 2001 and 2002. Went to see various coaches. David Ledbetter, I went to see in Florida, and he sort of turned me around a little bit and got me back on the right track and thinking clearly. And in 2003, I started to win again. I won the Dunhill at St Andrews, but before that I'd won the BMW in Germany as well. So yeah, that was a tough point in my career. I dropped from 4 in the world to 270 something. I stopped looking when I got down there, and it was a tough fight back because I'd obviously been top 10 in the world, and you know, it was pretty embarrassing, you know, not being able to break 80 at times. So you know, I learned a lot in that period.
And what was it? Was it something to do with the mindset, or was it some actual skills that this guy was teaching you?
Well, technically, I think that I'd started to make a few mistakes in my swing, but certainly I think whenever anybody's career goes off the rails, I think it's a lot of it's psychological. But I think the psychological part was brought on by the fact that I didn't know where the ball was going, whether I was going to hit it 50 yards left or 50 yards right. It's very difficult to focus and to think clearly, and when you have no idea where the golf ball's going.
2004, really big year for you, Ryder Cup win. What was it like, kind of getting the adoration of not just the fans but also your playing colleagues?
Yeah, I think everybody sort of appreciates it, but more so the people that you've played with, and you know, your colleagues that have seen you struggle and then come back to, you know, the heights again. You know, I think they can relate to that more because they know what a difficult process it is to come back from a slump, really. So yeah, 2004 was a good Ryder Cup. It was a record points win in Detroit. It was great. I got to play with Darren Clark, who was a friend of mine. We kind of helped each other through it, and we've got a great record in the Ryder Cup. Bernard Langer was the captain, and he was one of the best captains I've played under. And yeah, it was just a really good period. Starting to win again, and you know, playing well in the Ryder Cup is always nice.
So how does a golfer like you take the bad news and kind of put it to one side to focus on the next shot, the next game, the next match?
Well, as a golfer, you don't really win very much. I mean, I've got a high winning percentage. I've won 43 tournaments in my career, played getting on for 550 tournaments. So I don't, you know, that's a lot of tournament wins, but I still don't, you know, only win less than 1 in 10 times. So you get used to setting goals to give you confidence that aren't necessarily wins. So you might gain confidence from just shooting a low score, or just hitting a good shot, or you know, finishing top 10 or finishing top 5. You have to look at the positives all the time as a golfer, because if you didn't, you could look at the negatives all the time, and there are a lot of negatives because you don't win very often. 2010
then, toppling Tiger Woods. You then became #1 for something like 17 weeks. What was that all about?
Well, it was a build-up of things, really. You know, I'd started to work more on my fitness, and you know, I got myself into good shape, and I'd started to work hard on, you know, my short game, which sometimes let me down. My long game was in great shape as well, and I was starting to contend in the majors regularly. Finished second a couple of times in 2010 at the Masters and at the Open Championship at St Andrews.
Was it a specific goal though, to try and beat him?
No, not really. I've never set goals like that. You know, they're kind of long-term things that come from doing the short-term goals well. I think that it's like when people say, "I want to qualify for the Ryder Cup team this year." You know, you just immediately put pressure on yourself. You know, you want to do the small things well, like, you know, work on your swing, work on your putting. If you do those things right, and you're a good enough player, then you'll shoot low scores. And if you shoot low scores, you'll win tournaments. If you win tournaments, you win enough points to get in the Ryder Cup team, and you win enough points to get to world #1. So, you know, that's a very far off kind of goal. I don't think anybody sort of says, "I want to be the best player in the world." Or if they do, they generally don't get there. You know, it's all about the small little parts that you put together that enable the bigger picture to happen.
Then you met the Queen, 2012,
Yeah.
OBE, Lee Westwood.
Well, I'd met her before, which is always nice. You know, I like the royal family, and especially the Queen. I think she's a great lady, really. You know, she makes you feel very comfortable when you're in a company. And I got the OBE in 2010 and or 11, and you know, it was a very proud moment going to the palace and standing in front of her, trying not to mess it up, say the wrong thing.
Is she a secret golfer?
No, I don't think so, but I like horse racing, and so does she, so we had something in common there. We had a chat about golf. She said, "Oh, you're that golfer?" I said, "Yes." And she asked me where I'd been, and I'd actually been out here, or yeah, I had been out here, and she said, "Oh, isn't it hot playing golf in those kind of countries?" And I said, "Yeah, it is," and she said how she struggles with the heat, and I play in the sun and the heat all the time, so I have to get used to it, I said. So we had a nice little chat, and yeah, it was a really nice experience.
So we're at the end of 2019, moving into 2020, 25 years pretty much in the higher end of golf. Where do you see your career looking back and still looking forward?
Well, I'm still enjoying playing, and I think more importantly, I'm still enjoying working hard at my game. You know, when I stop doing that, then I won't be competitive out here anymore. There's so many good young players out here that, you know, you've got to be focused and you've got to work hard, make a few sacrifices here and there. But, you know, the game of golf's changed and I've changed. You know, I'm 46 now. Next year's my 27th season on the European Tour. So, you know, I still feel like I'm capable of winning tournaments. I proved that at the end of last year with a win at the Nedbank in South Africa at Sun City. And, you know, I feel like on my week, I can compete and I can win tournaments. Sure, I'm not as long as I used to be, and there's tournaments out here where I turn up and I think it's going to be tough to win this week because, you know, it's going to be a big hitters golf course. But I think, you know, at certain times, if I can peak for those weeks, then, you know, I can compete against the best still. So, you know, I've still got the drive, and there's other goals. You know, I'd love to be Ryder Cup captain someday, with half an eye on Rome in 3 years' time. But like I said, you know, I just like working on my swing and working on the small things and getting them better. And then who knows, you know, what I'm capable of. It'd be nice to keep winning tournaments into my 50s. Miguel Angel Jimenez has done it recently, so, you know, as long as I stay fit and I'm still enjoying it, why not?
Career's not done yet then?
Definitely not. And you know, when I'm not competitive, I'll find something else, hopefully in golf, to focus my time and my energy on again.
Still to come on the Leadership League, the business of brands, how companies and golfers are hoping to hit a hole-in-one both on and off the golf course.
I think it's important to associate yourself with brands that you believe in as well, that you feel like are the best.
The Leadership League, brought to you by Turkish Airlines. The Leadership League, brought to you by Turkish Airlines.
Lee Westwood has been a golf pro for more than a quarter of a century. Over that time, he's been sponsored by big names in sport like golf club manufacturer Ping and sports brand Nike. In 2005, Lee began working with luxury watchmaker Audemars Piguet as a brand ambassador. Lee regularly works with AP to help the watch brand create experiences for their customers, like this golf day at Dubai's Els Club. But it wasn't just Lee's skills with the golf club that attracted AP boss Francois Benamias to Lee.
Lee Westwood is not only about golf, far from it. Lee loves life. Lee has traveled the world, so he knows so many places. So when he's with our clients, they can talk about so many more things than just golf. And that's a part of who he is. Now getting in his 40s, also that does change also his look at life. When we invite our clients with all these ambassadors, it's not just about the performance of golf. It's performance as athletes. He went number one. He went as low as 400, went back to number one. It's crazy. And a lot of things we learn in golf could be adapted to the business as well.
Francois, who was previously a top 25 player in France, signed Lee and fellow player Darren Clarke after the Ryder Cup in Detroit. They hit it off from the start.
Lee and Darren in particular were already Audemars Piguet lovers. So we'll remember the first time we met, they had actually Audemars Piguet watches in their bag. And we spoke much more about the watches than the golf. They were playing the Ryder Cup, which they won, by the way, that year. So that was our first encounter, and it was a really memorable moment in the sense that I say we got to be a long time together.
But becoming an ambassador for AP isn't that straightforward.
They pass job interviews. I want to know the way they are. I want to know what they love in life, what they love about people, what they hate about people, what they want to be bothered, when do they don't want to be bothered. It's not because you sign an athlete and because he's great at what he does, he's going to be a great ambassador for your brand. The worst possible thing would be, oh, by the way, I just spent 4 hours with one of your guys. It was so boring, nothing happened. That wouldn't be so wrong for us.
There's a balancing act to be struck between the needs of the brand and the needs of the athlete.
We know when to push and when to stop. You know, how many more autographs you want to sign, how many times I need to tell you to do this, this and that. It's a right, fair balance between what you are supposed to do as an ambassador and when we as a brand say, hold on here, let him be. Especially when you are doing your competition and you are on a roll and you might win something, don't bother at any level. Let him be, he's an athlete. So it's like when you dance. If you dance too close, I'm going to step on your toes. If you dance, you're too far, you're not going to feel anything. It's a right balance between what we can ask and push for and when we say, It's you now. It's your time.
15 years down the line, the business relationship has turned into a friendship. It's more than just attending fun events like golf days in the sunshine.
First of all, we catch up on everyone's life. So what's up, what's going on in life. We don't even about golf, except every time I see him, I will ask him when. I want a major. I want a major 40, because that will be the top of his career.
But there is still time for business, and the future could see Lee getting even closer to the brand.
We are looking at what could be a retail operation 2.0. And I share things with Lee because we've got ideas about that, which I'm not going to share with you, but what could it be around golf? And we have something very specific that we want to launch in the years to come. And Lee would be definitely one of the best possible partner to do this with. So that's the type of things also we talk about. And sometimes they ask advice. So they say, by the way, I'm thinking about doing this, what do you think? That's how close we are. It cannot be just about you as a golfer without lines. If it was just that, it would actually slowly but surely go away. No, it's building a real relationship for years and years and years. Think about it for Lee, it's got to be 15 years. 15 years with a brand. It's not a relationship anymore, it's a marriage. He's going to appreciate that, I'm sure.
You've worked with brands, corporations for a long time now. How important is that in your career?
Yeah, it's very important, you know, and I've had a long relationships with most of my sponsors as well, and most of these corporations. So I think it's getting to know what you can do for them and what they can do for me. I think it's important to associate yourself with brands that you believe in as well, that you feel like are the best. So yeah, and that's certainly, you know, what I've done with all my sponsors over the years.
What is it? Where are the parallels, would you say, between sport and business?
You've got to believe in what you're doing. You've got to have the confidence, I think. And then you've just got to have the technical ability. You've got to have done your homework. You know, both applies, but you've got to be very, very focused in golf and business.
How do you see your partnership continuing with AP in particular, but also your other partners? Is it just at the end of your playing career, that's it?
Well, hopefully, yeah, they'll continue to grow. I mean, they have to evolve over time. You know, I'm not going to keep winning over the years, so you know, I have to give them their money's worth in some other way. But you know, I'm pretty good in a room chatting to people and out on a golf course doing corporate days. You know, I tend to get on with most people and give plenty back. So you know, that's where it'll go eventually, I would assume.
What about you, the rest of your life? You're starting to kind of branch out into other things. You've got the tour, you've got the academy. Tell me about that and why it's important to you.
I just think it's important to give back. You know, the kids are the future of the world, basically, aren't they? So, you know, and they're definitely the future of sport. And with lots of people leaving sport, especially golf, you know, the numbers are dropping. It's important to keep them involved and you know, attract them back to the game. And a lot of us out here, you know, not just me, we try and run tournaments and things like that and do academies and things, and you know, keep luring kids to play the game. I watched Nick Faldo win the opening as 87 and Jack Nicklaus win the Masters in 86, and that's kind of what sucked me in, and you know, that's what we try and do as professionals now.
Does that take a lot of your time?
No, not really, no. No, and you know, as you get older, you learn to time manage a lot better. You know, I'm much better at time management now that I'm 46 than when I was 26.
We're on a course that's been designed by Ernie Els. There's a rumour going around that that's the sort of thing that you would love to have as a legacy too. Where are you with that?
Well, I haven't really done that much course design. I would like to do more, but you know, there's not many people building golf courses at the moment. You know, golf courses seem to be closing, but yeah, sometime down the line, I would like to design a few golf courses and stick my name on them for sure.
And 2020, what does that hold in store, both professionally and, dare I say it, personally?
Well, most importantly, depending on who you're talking to.
Seeing as I know one of the answers to this question.
I'm getting married in August, so you know, that's obviously very exciting, and we're thinking about that a lot. But But I want to come out in 2020, you know, with a rejuvenated and having had a break and focused on my swing and things like that, and ready to go and play well and hopefully win some tournaments.
Lee Westwood, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Leadership League. I'm James Wright in Dubai. Thanks for watching.
The Leadership League. Brought to you by Turkish Airlines.